Welcome to the Brews and Appraisal Views podcast, where we blend the art of appraising with a touch of insight and a dash of humor. Whether you're a trainee, a seasoned professional, or just curious about the appraisal world, you've come to the right place. So grab your favorite brew, relax, and join us for some expert tips, real-world stories, and valuable advice to help grow your appraisal business. I'm your host, Dan Lindeman, certified appraiser serving South Florida for over 20 years. Hey, welcome back, appraisers. This week, we're going to sit down with Brad Bassey. He's an SRA, an MBA. He's a seasoned appraiser out of Temecula, California, with more than 3 decades of experience and over 6,500 valuations under his belt. Brad's seen it all from wildfire litigation, state appraisals, to horse ranches, luxury homes, and everything in between. As a certified residential appraiser and trusted expert witness, he's built a reputation on tackling tough valuation cases with the kind of precision and insight only experience can bring. So welcome, Brad. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate you having me. It's awful kind of you. And by the way, this brew thing is not working because it's 12:30 at my time.
Well, normally it started with brew because I do like to drink. I like to drink coffee as well. But when I record these as well, it's 3:30. I don't drink, but in the first few I did with my partner and then some other appraisers, it was in the late in the evening. I was having drinks on a Friday. So
and I would have joined you, but not at 12:30. I'm still working. I got work to do today.
Oh, that's funny. After this, I'm going to be done for the day. It's been a busy week.
Good.
I had really no agenda for this podcast. I know Brad from some other interactions, but he's in the non-lender space, and I just wanted to learn more about him, his business, and how that can help appraisers transition the non-lender work with the changes that are coming up in the appraisal profession. So non-lender work is an excellent way to diversify, and I think a lot of appraisers will need to do that in the future, the way business is going.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I've been working on a class for a while now, and hopefully after the but it's all about non-lending, and it's really going to be getting into the weeds of a lot of the things that I've done and a lot of the things that I will throw information out to people to get themselves in the right direction on how to do it, because it's making the jump. For some appraisers, it's easy. For a lot of appraisers, trying to make that transition over to the private party non-lending thing can be a little bit of a train wreck or a car accident all happening at the same time.
Yeah, and if they don't have that customer service piece for those relationships and those networking skills, it's tough to sustain it. Like, you can get some one-off calls from Google and get some jobs that way, but it's tough to sustain referral income if you don't have the right customer service skills or the right networking skills to keep those relationships going.
No, you're absolutely 1,000% correct.
How have you developed that in your business? What's your business look like? Do you get a lot of attorney referrals, agents, homeowners? What's your mix?
All the above. I'm 99.9% private party non-lending work. I'm dealing with a situation right now, and I don't say that I'm 100%, because every now and then I'll get a phone call, as I did recently with a lender that's got a servicing business out of Florida, and they've got themselves in a pickle out in a rural area, and not a lot of my peers like going out there to this rural area, and they had an FHA that was done many years ago, and now it's going in. This particular deal is going into foreclosure, and they're going through the process, and they needed an appraiser, and they've been calling around. They couldn't find anybody, and this young lady called me on the phone and talked to me for a couple of minutes, and I said, well, I'll be more than happy to help you. I said, couple problems. I said, number one, I'm going to have to send you a written proposal, and there's going to be terms and conditions in there that you all may not like.
Right.
And I said, secondly, you're probably not going to like my fee. So I'm just going to give you a heads up right now. I said, I'll shoot the ever living heck out of that thing, and I'll do it on a 1004 form for you, the 2.6 or whatever they're calling it. But it's not going to be done to FHA. I'm not testing anything. I ain't sticking my finger in an electric socket. And oh, by the way, I already did that a couple times. That's why I don't got any hair left anymore. So I ain't screwing around with that.
For those of you who aren't listening, Brad's got a big straw hat on. Well, I assume it's a straw hat based on your company.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of my backdrop. I was born in Missouri and raised in Kansas in a cattle ranching area, so give you a little bit of a backdrop. But so I'm having a conversation with them. We're going to see what happens. I don't know if they're going to use me or not. They have an option now if their management decides to go that route. So I never say never to any of that type of work. Am I doing AMC work? I haven't done any AMC work in probably, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years, maybe.
And why is that? The fees, the pressure, what do you got? What's the reason for that?
Well, it kind of started to kind of give everybody the backdrop back because I started in 1992 for those of you that have difficulty doing math. And when I got started, I had a really good mentor. I was commuting back and forth to LA. He had an exclusive agreement with a small regional bank there in that area. We were handling both the wholesale and retail. And I just got lucky. I got just an excellent mentor. And the first property he dropped me off at, actually took me to, was a 20,000 square foot mansion built in 1939 in Beverly Hills in the Flats. And I'm getting out of his Mercedes Benz because he wouldn't let me drive my truck. Apparently it didn't work in that neighborhood. And so we got out of his Mercedes and I asked him, I said, what do you want me to do? I'm going to measure this thing? He goes, that's not going to be your problem. The house is a box. The problem's going to be on the inside. And you're going to have to get familiar with what's going on. And I literally spent 2.5 days at that house with the interior designer annotating everything that was going on. And that's how I learned. And so fast track that up until the mid 2000s, I was doing work with a large nationwide lender, initials C and W. You can read between the lines. And they're no longer in business. And they came out. I did all of their high-end custom homework in my neck of the woods, kind of a small area. To just let everybody know, I'm in a town called Temecula, California, which is north of San Diego, about an hour and 20 minutes, and south from LA, anywhere from 2.5 hours to 3 days, depending upon traffic. And so I'm kind of in a little neighborhood nestled between the coastline and coastal mountains, and then a big mountain range, and then Palm Springs, Palm Desert. So I did a lot of their custom homework and their residential land and the proposed construction for this lender. And all of a sudden, I get this. Oh, by the way, in case you're seeing the spinning wheel for anybody that's watching it, I'm on a DSL line. I don't have highfalutin cable stuff. So sometimes things get a little weird. So I apologize. But I got this fax came through, and it was the request to do this high-end custom home, and I didn't think anything of it. There happened to be an additional piece of paper, and this additional piece of paper happened to be part of the loan doc, and it showed that they were doing 125% financing. Wow. And I'm kind of staring at it going, I must not be reading this right. Something's crazy. So I called my contact at this lender and said, hey, I got an extra document and I'm going to read it to you. If you want, I'll shred it for you, or I'll drive it down to your office and drop it off. And this was back in the day when you actually had a conversation with somebody. You could actually go see them. And so the person goes, no, isn't this fan? And I said, look, what is this document? This looks like a loan thing. It was kind of weird. I really wasn't understanding it. And she goes, it's our new program. It's 125% financing. Isn't it great? And I went, well, I'm really happy for your client, but you ain't going to have my fingerprints on the barrel of the murder weapon. And they go, what? And I said, this is a recipe for a disaster. I said, I haven't thought about it, but I know this much. I'm not doing this job for you. And since I'm not going to know what jobs are going to be done, y'all need to take me off of your lender list. And they were my second largest client.
Wow.
And of course, the manager was befuddled and called and was jumping up and down going, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm just not doing your work because I don't know what you guys have got going and I can't trust it. And I ain't doing 125% financing.
Yeah. That's and that's upside down day one.
That's more than upside down day one. They're banking on everything going up. And this was 2004 when things were getting stupid, and you could literally put a hand-painted sign in the front yard and you could sell it, and with multiple offers. So everybody was drunk and delirious.
Yeah.
And I did not remember this, but I called my dad after this whole thing happened, and I called him on the phone. I said, "Hey, Dad, I just thought I'd let you know I just kicked my second largest client to the curb." He goes, "Well, what'd you do that for?" And I told him, and he goes, 125% finance. And my dad was an accountant, income tax accountant, and did estates and that kind of stuff. And I told him what was going on. He goes, "Well, that sounds kind of crazy." And I said, "Dad, this is a recipe for a disaster." Little did I know 2008 was coming and Countrywide was coming. Oops, I'm sorry. I said their name. And Countrywide was coming, and there's demise of a whole bunch of stuff. And I told my dad, I said at that time, and I didn't know that I was a soothsayer, but I said, this is going to be the end of the world. This is going to be stupid. And right then and there is when I made my decision that I needed to change my business.
And that was in 2005?
2004.
Yeah.
And I started making a change to the business then. And I started getting out, and in full disclosure, I had a little bit of advance on some people because my former lifetime, I was senior vice president of marketing and sales for a defense contracting company. And so I traveled internationally. So I had some sales backdrop. So that gave me a little bit of a leg up. But I just knew that I had to get out and start networking. I had to get out and start meeting real estate agents. I'd already learned to make confirming calls from my mentor because he was beating on me from day one. And I just started taking it one step further and talking to them about their business, and then talking about, some other things with them after I confirmed my data, and then say, "Hey, look, could I send you my contact information?" I'd ask for permission and either email it to them or, text it over, and told them that, "Hey, if you ever got a question you want to bounce off an appraiser's forehead, I'm not going to value something over the phone with you. But if you would just want to find out how an appraiser might look at something, then pick up the phone and call me." And I've been doing that for 21 years.
Yeah, and I will say that's the easiest thing for somebody, an appraiser, to do is just offer that service to the agent or an attorney and just say, "Hey, just give me a shout. Any questions? Doesn't cost you anything. Just, flesh out an idea with me. No problem going over with you." You have to be a resource for people, and it'll come back to you. Because you do need a large database as an appraiser, because the need doesn't arise as often. So the larger your database, the more people you can help, the more your phone will be ringing from referrals.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then the other big change that I made was in, I got to get the timeline on this one. I think it was early part of 2015. I had met a gentleman by the name of Roy Meyer that a lot of people know. And I joined his mastermind program that he had. And in there, he was beating on people to get a website. And when I found out what the website cost was, I'm like going, "Oh, man, I got a face for radio. I don't need a website." And so he kind of stumbled and stammered and gave me a hard time. And finally, he brought up a really interesting point. He said, "Brad," he said, "there's going to come a point in time where people are going to be looking on the World Wide Web a lot more than they are right now. And when they do, how are they going to find you?" And I went, "Well, good point, if it gets to that point." And he goes, "Well, it's getting there." And I said, "Yeah, I can see it a little bit." And he goes, "But how are they going to find you if you don't have a good website?" And I said, "Well, this is a heck of a lot of damn money." And he goes, "Yeah, it's a heck of a lot of damn money because you're going to get it done right, number one. And number two, you're going to be adding stuff to it, and you're going to become the authority, and people are going to find you, and it's not going to go quickly. But let's just say you spend $3,000 on a website. I already know what your fees are, Brad. I already know you're charging people a lot of money that's higher than a lot of other people are charging." And he goes, "What is it going to take? 5 or 6 jobs before that pays off in your ROI?" And he said, "You might get that done in the first 4 months. You might get it done in the first month, but your payback's going to be pretty quick." So I listened to them. I forked out the money, got my website done, and it's been updated and modified probably 4 times now, I guess. So I got one heck of an investment in my website. And I do not have 500 Google reviews. I've only got like 30 or 31 Google reviews.
30. You have 30. They're all 5 stars. 30. I have your page pulled up now.
Okay. Well, thanks. And so I've got 30 on there, but there's some really good reviews that were done by people that were very genuine about what they were doing and the fact that they did get really good customer service. And I think and it's not about telling them what they want to hear, by the way. It's about the way you describe to them what you're going to do, the service you're offering, and then don't go dark. And if there is something that's going on that is a hiccup, pick up the phone and call and talk to them. And I've got quite a few, I shouldn't say quite a few. I've got family law attorneys locally whose paralegals like using me. And it's not because I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread and warm butter or the smartest appraiser that's ever been invented. It's because I keep them in the loop. Yeah. They know what's going on. They know when I've got the proposal signed by both parties or one party, depending upon who's engaging. They know when I've got the appointment scheduled. They know when I've come back and they get an update, 1 or 2 updates from it. And does that take time? Yeah, it does. But guess what? I ain't getting paid $350 or $275 with an AMC.
Yeah.
And it's me reaching out to them.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very, very good point. I did notice that when I searched your name, you came up under Seek Expert Witness. That's the second page that comes up. So do you pay for that website to be a part of that?
I do. Yeah, I do.
How has that gone? Have you gotten a lot of work from that website?
Well, because of where I'm at, and because I'm not a certified general, where I could do other types of properties, I don't get a lot of business from it. But what I get is people that call me that are having difficulties finding an expert witness. And because of my network, i.e., and what do we call your company again, Dan? What's it called? Wait a minute. I can't think of it.
Appraisals.
Referral appraisals. That's interesting. Yeah. I'm having a little tongue in cheek here, folks. But because I've got a good network of people, because I've been doing this a long time, I've gone to a lot of conferences. I've met some really good appraisers throughout the industry in different parts of the country. I have the ability to pick up the phone and make a phone call, my dime, and find out if they can do it. If they can't, who do they know in that area that would be good for me to refer my client to?
Right.
And when I call my client back, I tell them, look, I talked to 2 different appraisers. Neither one of them were able to assist, but they gave me a couple of other referrals. And I called and talked to those people, and they're very interested in having a conversation with you. Phone number. I get them all the information. And guess who ends up calling me back a year later, 6 months later, 2 years later? It's that person that I helped get a good referral in another area.
Yeah.
And it's all about building the relationship, and it's all about taking time and spending time. And I can't tell you the number of appraisers that I have had conversations with that have found out that I've spent 30 or 45 minutes on the phone with somebody. And they look at me like I'm completely out of my mind. And I'm going, well, if you think I'm out of my mind, then you might not want to take this leap and jump into non-lending work. Because the people that call you, they haven't done diddly squat in real estate. And they've probably never been involved in ordering an appraisal. So they don't know what they're looking for. And you've got to be willing to spend time and talk to them. You have to peel the onion back. It just takes time.
I completely agree. In fact, I recall one conversation. They normally don't last that long, but this one gentleman wanted to talk the entire time, like 30 minutes, and tell me the whole backstory about everything. And I sat there and listened to him because it was demonstrating good customer service skills. Ended up getting the job. I wasn't the cheapest one. I was the most expensive one, but he hired me because he was most comfortable with me. And I took the time to listen to exactly what he needed and what he was looking for. And you said regarding customer service skills, that's a very good point. You people may not like your results, but as long as you're able to explain yourself and how you got the results, that's the most important part. You're never going to make everybody happy. Just let them know how you did it and what you did, and that's all you can do. And answer their call when they call you back and have a complaint for you, or hey, it's lower than I thought or higher than I thought, whatever the case may be. You have to address those people and listen to their concerns and just explain the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the other thing. Yeah, the other thing too, along that same line, the other reason why I do spend time with them is that, and I don't want to terrify people that are not in the non-lending world that want to come into it, but be aware that the people that call you on the phone, they may not be telling you the truth or the whole truth, because they think it may impact your appraisal. And a lot of times it has to do with the fact that I'll get people to call me on the phone and they'll go, well, I need to understand what my house is worth. Okay, that's fine. I can do that. What do you need this for? Well, I just need to understand. So usually when I get that, I'll circle back around it in about 2 minutes, and then I'll start asking some more questions depending upon whatever they've said. And usually I can pick up pretty quick if it's a family law deal or if it's something else going on. And when I find out what it is they need it for, I said, look, why don't you just tell me that up front? Well, because I thought you were going to appraise it differently. And I said, just because of the intended use is family law, it doesn't mean a doggone thing. It just means that I know what the intended use is going to be because I have to describe that. And this particular individual said he had three out here in California, because we got backed up with COVID in family law court. What the court was doing was saying, hey, one side, you get to select 3 names, and the other side, you get to pick one of those 3 names. So in this particular scenario, the individual was calling the 3 appraisers. I just happened to be the last one on the phone call, on the list. And he told me, he said, after he got done talking, I talked to him for a little bit more, and he goes, do you know you're the only person that spent the time with me on the phone, number one. And number two, you're actually the only person that asked me and continued to ask me what this was for. And then now that I realize that it's for family law, I guess I probably should have told them. But I thought you guys would look at it differently because it was for family law. And I said, nope. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look at it really hard, because if I get called into court, I don't want to get dragged over the coals because I missed something.
Yeah, exactly. And that is really sad that the 2 other appraisers didn't even ask what it was for. That is the number one question. What's the address of the property and why do you need it appraised? And if they do that BS, like, hey, I just want to know what it's worth. Well, why do you want to know what it's worth? I get those calls a lot too, and you need to flush it out. Like one today, it was for a commercial job, so I was asking her what they need it for. She's like, well, they just want to know what it's worth. I'm like, well, is it for litigation? Is it a family law case? Do they want to know what to list it for? And I go through, is it a partition case? And I go through all of the different things just to try and figure out what it is, because I won't take an assignment that somebody's cagey with me. If they're cagey with me, they're hiding something. I will not get involved with that. In fact, I've ended conversations with people and told them, like, you're just going to need to find another appraiser. I'm not interested in the assignment. Because if you're going to lie to me initially, you're going to be a problem.
Absolutely. And generally, those jobs you don't take are the best jobs you ever got.
Absolutely. And some poor bastard appraiser accepted it for probably $350, and the person lied to him about what they needed it for, and it's going to end up screwing that appraiser.
Well, the other thing too is that I told the gentleman, and this is the other thing too that I would recommend to people. And I don't know how, Dan, how you run your business, but this is just my single way I do it. I have a template, several templates made up for engagements and proposals. And I don't give a phone quote to anybody over the phone. I tell them, I said, look, I need to do some more research. Give me a day, give me 2 days, whatever, by the end of the day, tonight, whatever it is, depending upon what my schedule is. And I'll send you a written proposal. And that'll describe to you the fee. describe to you the length of time after I've been to the site when the report will be done. And it will also outline the things that I'm going to do and the things that I'm not going to do. And this gentleman goes, well, what's that going to cost me? And I said, proposal is free. The appraisal is costly. And the guy started laughing. He goes, the other guys gave me phone quotes. They talked to me. And I said, number one, wait a minute. They didn't know what it was for. And they gave you a phone quote? And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, you can call them back if you want, but that's not going to be me. And so the guy said, well, how long will it take? In this particular scenario, it took me like a day and a half. So I sent him the proposal. And that evening, he called me on the phone, and it was like 7:30 my time, and still doing some barbecuing or doing something, I don't know. So I picked up the phone, and the guy goes, oh, he answered the phone. And I'm like, well, you want me to hang up? I said, who is this? And he goes, oh, it's so-and-so. And I went, oh, okay. And he goes, well, how come you picked up? And I said, well, you know, I'm self-employed. So unless it's really stupid, like you trying to call me at 9 o'clock at night and I'm already in bed because I got to get up and do chores in the morning at my little branchy area here, I said, then I ain't picking up. But if it's a regular, reasonable situation, yeah, I'll pick up. Unless it's a political scam call. And because then if it's something I can't deal with right then and there, I'll tell you, hey, I'll call you back in the morning. But I've got a template and I put it together and I gave him the proposal and sent it to him. And he called me on the phone. He goes, you seem really high. And I said, well, maybe. I said, I got one other guy I can refer you to. He's really expensive. Well, no, don't give me him. And I said, well, that's the way it is. I said, you know, this is what my time is worth, and this is what I bring to the party. And I said, if you want to hire those other people, please be my guest. It's not a problem. You're not going to offend me in the least. Yeah. I've got plenty of other work going on, and that's the way it's got to go.
And you need to have that mentality is, I don't need this job that calls me. You need to always have that mentality is like, hey, you're not desperate for work, just so you can have that mentality, which helps you in your sales tech. It helps you sell yourself when you act like, hey, I don't need this. If you want to hire a cheaper appraiser, totally cool with me. If you're price conscious, that's totally fine. Hire another appraiser. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Because you know what happens is that appraiser charges a little amount of money, is getting super busy, and the next guy that comes along, it's a much high dollar appraisal. You're making more per hour because you gave that low price job to somebody, an appraiser who was willing to accept it.
Absolutely. No, you're right on.
What do you got there? You said you have a ranch. What's going on? What are you? Is it?
Well, I used to have big four-legged critters on it, and then I did a lot of work with Mustangs, wild Mustangs from BLM, and a gal that I knew back in the day. I guess I did it for about 20 years. We did some work with BLM getting their Mustangs ready for auction, and we'd get them to the point of being saddle ready. So you didn't have to worry about people getting run over or killed, or trampled by a wild Mustang. Sure. And some people kind of looked at them and thought they're going to be their pet dog. And got a newsflash for you. Some of them aren't pet dogs. And, I've seen aftermaths of what's happened with people with that. So did a lot of work with Mustangs, and then that's that and gophers and weeds. So I got a little bit of everything.
Nice. That sounds really cool. Let's get into expert witness work. So how often are you going to court, and what lands you in court? What type of jobs?
Ooh, I'm not in court that often. I'm probably only in court maybe 3 or 4 times a year. It doesn't mean I'm not doing jobs, but I'm only in court maybe 3 times a year. And the funny thing is the jobs that I would think weren't going to go to court, like the family law, I end up in court because one side has decided that they're going to pull the pin on the hand grenade and throw it into the room and see how many people they can kill. And they want as much carnage as possible. And I had, excuse me, I had one court case. I'm not going to say anything out of school, but I had one court case for family law that I made $7,400. And that's the number of times I ended up having to go back to court and sit in the hallway, get called in, then be dismissed to go back to the hallway, then get called back in. The bailiff and I got to be pretty good friends.
So that was, hold on, how many you were in court for how many days for that?
I was in court 4 times on that case.
And so they don't just, hold on, that's really interesting, because once you're dismissed from the stand, were you on the stand and then dismissed and then brought back?
Well, yeah, I was not dismissed from the case. I was asked to stand down. I had to go to the hallway because they were going to have a fist fight in the courtroom.
Oh, okay.
And so the judge wanted to have a conversation with the attorneys and the plaintiff and respondent.
Oh, so, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I was in court 4 times. I say 4. Wait a minute. No, 4 times. And every time they paid me a 6-hour retainer.
Wow. Okay.
And because if you're going to screw up my day, you're going to pay for it.
I agree. I'm a little generous sometimes with what I charge for Zoom and what I charge in person. And I know we have this conversation outside of this, so I'm a little generous sometimes. But personally, I've been in court 4 times. 4 times this year. And I have 2 next week that are probably going to settle, or I need to go. I think they're both going to be on Zoom though next week, which is super convenient for me. And I only charge 2-hour retainer on Zoom if I'm in my office.
Okay. Well, I have a different viewpoint of it, and it's only because, and I know where you're at for the most part. I just have this situation where real estate appraisers have been, residential appraisers, I should say, have been so browbeat and so driven over by a tank, a pickup truck, a Greyhound bus, and hit by a train that they have literally just allowed themselves to think they're not worth a frickin' damn thing.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy. Because if you've got 20 or 25 years of experience and you have done the job right, and I'm not talking about, there's some knuckleheads out there that, quite frankly, they shouldn't be in the business. But, if you've done your job right and you've treated people correctly and you've done your research and you've confirmed sales, they're just not charging what they should be charging. And it's the one thing I harp on. I just tell people, look, if you don't know what your Schedule C average, what your costs are per appraisal, and you don't know what your average fee is per appraisal, then you really shouldn't be bidding anything.
Yeah. I
could
figure out my average fee in about 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
What it is for your.
Yeah.
And I already know what it is. But that's important. People they don't value themselves and their profession. And it's crazy that I think it's a scarcity mentality. They think that they need to bid that low because they won't get the job. And that's not the case. There's tons of appraisers around me, tons, and I'm not the cheapest appraiser, but yet I still get assignments because I know how to talk to people. I know how to figure out what they want, and I'm not the best appraiser. I know I'm not the best appraiser, but I do a better job of talking to people and helping them, with the process. So people are willing to do business with people they like and they know and trust. So that's how I get a lot of business. And with referral business from attorneys, you're not competing on price. You're just naming your standard fee and for the assignment, and you're getting that assignment. The attorney's clients are not fighting you on the fee.
They'll fight you on your performance, but they won't fight you on the fee.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
And that's I see a lot of gnashing of teeth. And I won't go there yet. Let me continue on with the litigation side of things. Family law is what I do some, and then I also do some bankruptcies. I've been pulled into bankruptcy court a couple of times. Most of the time, your report, the bankruptcy judge uses your report as your testimony. It's just like in front of the IRS. If you're going to do an estate appraisal as a residential appraiser, which a lot of appraisers don't understand, if your work gets pulled for an audit because they've done a filing of a 706 estate tax return,
Yeah.
your report is your testimony. And if your report looks like a pile of doo-doo in the middle of the road and it smells 12 weeks and you can still smell it 12 weeks after you stepped in it, the estate, I can guarantee you the IRS appraiser, he's seen a boatload of stupid.
Yeah.
And if you get qualified into stupid because you didn't explain what you did and didn't do, then you're going to have a problem. And oh, by the way, as I like to tell everybody, take a look at 6635 IRS Treasury Code and find out what your bad side can be. If in fact you do something wrong,
yeah,
you're responsible for a 10% error to the side that the IRS determines is the error.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And if your report's screwed up and they say, hey, really nice doing business with you, by the way, you're not going to be allowed to do business in front of the IRS for another 3 years. And you do something post that timeline and it shows up in the IRS desk, guess who's going to get another phone call? And that one ain't going to be pretty at all. So if you're not charging what you need to charge to do the job right and to write the report correctly, it is your testimony with the IRS. And take your time. Confirm your sales. And oh, by the way, if you're doing a gift tax deal, which I ended up only one time have I been in front of IRS tax commissioner, was because of a gift tax deal.
Okay.
And the gift tax deal, and the only reason I was brought in to it was because there were, how do I say this politely? There were some other shenanigans that were going on that had nothing to do with me, but the IRS wanted to see me to find out if I was part of the shenanigans or not. Okay. And once they got me in front and ran me through cross, they recognized that, okay, he's given us what he could give us. It's all good. And oh, by the way, did you bring this document for us? And I said, yeah, it's the Form 8283. And if anybody does gift tax estate work, gift tax donations, you're going to have to fill out a Form 8283. And if you're not familiar with it, Google search it. You can find it. IRS.
Yeah. That's where you just have to attest that you did the appraisal and sign that
Correct.
form, right? And
here's
your
the
social security number too.
Correct.
Way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Here's the kick. Don't sign that blank. Because what happened, because sometimes the estate attorney will send it to you and say, oh, just fill it out and send it back to me and it will be good. And there's no other information in there. Well, I learned a long time ago, you don't sign anything blank.
Yeah.
So I told this attorney, I said, hey, you want me to sign this? Y'all need to fill it in and date it and initial it and then send it to me and then I'll put in my information and then we're good to go. Well, it just so happened that they did that. But in the interim, the other person, the donor, decided to change attorneys.
Oh.
So apparently they had some creative skills and they were able to have an 8283 that had new information in it, which was not on the document that I signed.
Oh, basically, so they just committed fraud just by.
Yep.
Oh. So how did you?
And I had the original document. I had the original document. It was scanned. It wasn't part of my work file. IRS looked at that, looked at the other one, and went, "Wait a minute."
This isn't what we have. So, what does that look like? How do you get brought in front of an IRS commissioner? How did that happen? And what does it look like? Where does it take place? What happened?
This particular one took place in LA County, because that's where the domicile of the donor was at. The property was out here by me.
So it was in the courthouse?
It was IRS tax commissioner's office. Yeah, LA's got regionals: LA, San Francisco, Kansas City, Dallas, Cleveland. There's one in Florida, I don't know where, and in New York.
So it's just at their office.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
But you go in a conference room and you're going into some place that they can look at you sideways and you can have a problem.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
So thank God, knock on wood, that hasn't happened to me yet. That
Well, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I mean, once they realized what was going on, and I got a couple of contacts out of it.
Yeah.
Because they looked at the work and they said, hey, we like the way you presented it, and we also like the fact that your work file was pretty complete. I said pretty because it didn't have everything in there that they were looking for, but that part of what they were looking for wasn't part of my deal anyway. But so I think I've gotten 1 or 2 jobs because my name got referred by them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So, that stuff's out there. But you just have to you can't, just because you're doing it for family law, you're doing it for estate, you can't do it wham bang, thank you, have a good day, and not do your due diligence.
If you land up in court, maybe my court experience has been relatively easy at hearings or trials. The questions are really, really basic. What has your experience been? Like, any appraiser could answer these questions practically. It wasn't very difficult. The attorneys in family law, which is the most of the time I'm there, don't know about appraisals or anything like that. There's no like gotcha questions that they come up with. It's all stuff that you can come up that any appraiser can really respond to. So what's yours been like?
Some of them have been easy. And oh, by the way, if you're going to do family law, Google search both of the attorneys. So A, where their office is, and B, their background. Because when you Google search them and one of the say opposing counsel happens to be family law, but they have an undergraduate degree or a graduate degree in real estate.
Excellent point.
Then guess what you may need to be prepared for? Not that they're going to have all the right questions to ask, but I guarantee you, if you're going to look for that one oopso, that's going to be them. And if they've been in family law practice for 35 or 40 years, they've seen enough appraisals. They know what's a pile of crap, and they know what isn't. And they'll find a way to ask a question. Now, that being said, I've also had both arms and both legs ripped off and beat over the head with them. I had a bloodletting, and this would have been, 2015, I guess. I guess I should have that date memorized. I had a bloodletting in 2015, I guess it was. And it was it was a screwed up mess. It was one of those ones early on in my litigation career that had I put my spider sense up and my radar and my Batman signal up, I would have known better. This client turned out to be a pain in the neck. And so was their case. But opposing counsel was sharp. And he tried to get me screwed up. And he beat me for 45 minutes. And I mean, there was so much blood that I could have gone to Jiffy Lube and still not gotten enough oil put back in the system. And I'm standing in the hallway with retaining counsel, and I apologized to him. And the retaining counsel looked at me, he goes, Brad, what do you said you did okay, man. You don't worry about it. You're fine. You did good. And I'm like, it was bloodletting up there. And he's kind of chuckling with me. No, it's all right. Opposing counsel comes out of the courtroom, walks by me, stops and says, hey, Mr. Bassi, do you have a business card? And I looked at him and I went, what? So you can put it on the bulletin board at your office and say, hey, that's what we got a winner, gang. Come on, we can beat him to death. He started laughing. He took my card. 3 weeks later, he called me on the phone for another job.
Nice.
Because I stuck with and when I say story, I don't mean it a bad way. I stuck with the theme of what I did, and why I did it. And I didn't deviate. And this guy tried taking me 12 ways to Sunday. And he was one sharp SOB. He knew his stuff. And he kept beating me. Same question, different words. And it was going on and on and on. And I thought you could see the sweat coming down my forehead. And I didn't have my Stetson on with my dry band inside of it.
That's great.
But it was brutal. But I survived, and I figured if I could survive that one, I guess I could survive anything. I don't know.
My worst experience was in a deposition, and I brought my work file in there, and that opposing counsel just went through every single freaking thing in there, every single email. It was horrendous. And it was like an hour or two. It was the worst experience of my professional appraisal career ever. And I do not want to relive that deposition. Meanwhile, every deposition after that's been totally fine, but that happened to be my first deposition, and it was just fucking terrible.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the very first case that I was involved with, usually you have trial prep with retaining counsel. I can see you nodding your head. I called retaining counsel 3 times. The court date, I don't remember the actual date, but let's just say it's Thursday. I've called the retaining counsel for 3 weeks before the court case. I can't get him to call me back. Because I keep leaving the message, hey, when are we going to do trial prep? Because I've learned and talked and listened to other people and said, you need to get to trial prep. And I'm like, this is my first time out of the chute. Come on here, help me. And I shouldn't say trial prep for deposition. My prep for deposition, thank God the building was 4 stories tall, because my prep was when we got in the elevator.
Huh. Wow.
That was my prep. However long it took that elevator to get from the ground floor to the 4th floor, that was my prep time. You talk about my knees knocking. Jeez, I'm surprised the court reporter didn't have to put on sonic ears. I'm like, holy moly.
So it's amazing. A lot of these attorneys, they wait until the last minute for everything. Like, hey, do you want to have a meeting to go over, what questions you're going to ask me, whatnot. Some of these attorneys are like last minute, like trial maybe on Monday. They're calling like Friday afternoon, like, oh yeah, this is what I'm just going to ask you. It's like a little more prep time would be good.
Yeah. By the way, they called at 5:45 on a Friday.
Yeah. And with the litigation, do you often get copies of opposing counsel's reports for appraisal reports?
If they're allowed, I'll request it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get it. Sometimes if discovery's already been done and the report wasn't done before discovery, then I won't get a copy, unless there is something there. Trying to think. I've had a couple of them where the reports came in like the day before trial, and we didn't have access to them. And retaining counsel. And by the way, folks, notice that I keep saying retaining counsel. The person that hires you, if you're going to get anything out of this conversation between Dan and me today, understand that the person that hires you ain't your attorney.
No.
Let me repeat myself in case I stuttered. Retaining counsel does not represent you. They will throw you under the bus and back a truck over you and leave the truck running if it's to the benefit of their client. They are retaining counsel. They do not represent you. So please, if you're going to step off the curb and get into this world, remember that. And also, you brought up seek. I know a lot of appraisers have this fear of doing litigation, or I don't even want to go to family law court. And I'm like, okay, more for me if you don't want to go, but okay. But I scratch my head with it, because if you go and spend a couple of classes, and oh, by the way, these classes are not cheap. But if you're going to be an AMC lender and you want an appraiser and you want to break out of that business, you got to spend a little bit of money in order to make a little bit of money. And if you want to become a better appraiser and you want to stick your toe in the water with litigation work, I highly, highly recommend you take a class that's taught by an attorney. And I'm heading down a path here. And I do not get kickbacks or referral fees, and I'm not on retainer. But I would recommend taking a look at Seek. And Dan, you're in Florida. They have an annual conference in May up in Clearwater.
Nice.
And I would highly recommend, they do current classes on Zoom. They do them on the West Coast. They do them on the East Coast. And I would highly recommend, if you want to step off the curb and get a feel for this, that you go take the class, at least one class, how to start and run an expert witness business.
So on the, there's been 2 documents that are circulating for the appraisal community. Well, for appraisers, expert witness survival guide for appraisers, challenging, opposing experts and cross-examining expert witnesses. I have some of those links posted on the Refer Appraisals, where it's a PDF where you can learn if you're not taking class, but go through it and learn. I created a little checklist that from each one of those that I also posted there, but it's not my content. It's stuff that I found value with, and it helped me, so it can help other appraisers.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
That's what I found.
Excellent.
Regarding your case history, appraisers, you need to keep a history of the cases that you're working on, because sometimes you're going to get that request like, hey, how many cases have you been on in the past like 5 years or something? You need to list your cases and have them listed. So keep a record of your cases. And also you need to keep a record when you go to trial, like what your testimony was about. There needs to be a summary, because I don't get a printout of the court reporter. I don't get that here.
You don't get a copy of the transcript if you testify?
I do not. No.
What?
I do not.
Have you requested a copy?
I've requested a couple of times on a couple of different cases, but no, there's no transcript or anything. I've never got a transcript from any one of them.
Have you gotten a transcript on anything outside of your family law work?
Insurance case, I may have. In a deposition, I got transcript from the depositions, but not for family law cases for some reason.
Okay. Well, that's not the end of the world. Yeah, on family law, it's not the end of the world, I guess. But on any other case, you definitely need a copy of your transcript, because I guarantee you that's going to come up and bite you, and you need to understand what was in that prior trial and what was in that prior deposition, because the opposing parties' attorneys, they're going to go look for it.
Right.
And that leads to one other quick thing that I'll make, because I know we're getting towards the end of our time here. But one other thing I will mention is, if you are going to have conversations with attorneys or their paralegals, when they call you on the phone, they're going to say they're an attorney, or I'm the paralegal representing XYZ Acme Family Law Appraisal Service. Before you start having any conversations with them at all, you ask the obvious question: what's the use? Is this for family law? Yes. Please tell me who is the plaintiff and who is the respondent. I need to know who the parties are in this case before you start having a conversation with me. 2 reasons. First one is to make sure that you don't have a conflict because you happen to know one or the other party, or a brother or sister of the other party. And the second is to make sure that you know that you haven't done that work somehow or another on that property. Because if you come find out that you've done a work for John Brown at 333 Main Street, and you pull it up and come to find out you've already done a job on Main Street, you don't want to be telling them in your report that, oh, by the way, I did prior service of 3 years ago. That ain't going to cut it. The attorneys need to know up front, right then and there, that you've appraised that property before. Because then they're going to make a decision legally whether or not they want you involved in the case or not.
Right.
So you need to know who the parties are, you need to know the address, and you got to know what's going on with them. And if you don't have access to the computer, then say, look, I'm not at my desk right now. Let me give you a call back so you and I can have a conversation so that I can give you pertinent information about what I've done and haven't done. And don't step off the curb and get signed up for something that you're going to have to regret later, because it'll be a nightmare. And the last thing you don't want to do is to get caught under a conflict issue, or to be removed under Daubert, which is not normal, but to be removed from a case because of something you should have done on the front end, because that will be with you, and that will probably be the end of your litigation career work.
Yeah, and that's on the attorney as well to see if there's any conflicts. That's on the attorney.
I agree. It's up to the expert. If you're a professional, and you're an expert, it's up to you to do your job on the front end, because a lot of times the attorneys aren't thinking.
Yeah, so on the front end, no. Like as soon as I don't ask that on the front end. I've been asked, they've given me they've asked me several times if there's a conflict with some people, and it's only certain attorneys that do that. And for an insurance case and something else, they asked as well if there's any conflicts with those parties. But most of the time on the divorce partition stuff, I'll talk to the attorney, find out who their client is, connect with the client, and then I have the address of the property. If there's any conflicts at that point, that's when I'm not even engaged yet, basically. So it's before I'm engaged that I know what I'm into. But I don't ask for the parties personally. But it's not bad. But it's not a bad thing to ask.
Well, and the other thing too, and you and I have talked about this. If you're going to do family law work or you're going to do estate work, for those of you, and by the way, I'm doing my entire class in this 1 hour. That's really good. It's supposed to have been a 7-hour class. I guess I'm going to need to get more material. I'm tongue in cheek.
So hold on, regarding that, where's your class? Where are you planning on releasing it? Say it one more time. You broke up.
I'm sorry. It'll be through appraiser e-learning.
Oh, cool. So you'll have continuing education for each state or whatever. Excellent.
Yeah. Yep.
Excellent. Looking forward to that.
Yep. And there'll be 7 hours, so it'll be broken up. Typically, appraiser e-learning does it in 2 vibes. They'll do it. Well, I think the first thing out of the chute's going to be asynchronous, and then the live portion of it, Zoom portion, will be on 2 days. The way they break it up, 3.5 hours each day, that kind of thing. I think that's how they do it. So anyway, that's what's going on. What's that?
Do you have a portion of the class about marketing and networking?
I'm not following.
The 7-hour class, it's about non-lending, right?
Right.
Yeah. Do you have any portion for appraisers, like on how to network and market to get that business?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's going to be examples, which is where I was going. There's going to be examples of my CV. And for those of you that don't know what CV is, I'm not going to tell you. Go Google search it and look it up.
Yep. You're probably not going to get retained if you don't know what that means.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. If you want to separate yourself from all of the other Johnny-come-latelys, have a CV, and when you send it a copy, when you get off the phone with a paralegal on anything, for estate, family law, whatever it is, immediately ask for their email address and send a copy of your CV to them. You will automatically go from here to here. And for those of you that are not on this and are listening, it's my hand going up. You're going to move up on the pile.
So your CV is basically your resume.
Come on, make them go Google search it. You're easy, Dan. We got to get you to stop doing that.
They may be listening in the car. I don't want to make them Google in the car.
I don't want to car. Yeah, good point.
So where do you think the profession's going the next 5 years? What do you see?
Wow. Well, number one, I'm excited about the 3.6 form, because I think it's long overdue for the organization the way I see it being structured. So I think that's a plus. I think there's additional liability for the residential appraisers that they need to start taking a look at, and they need to start reading the statement of limits and conditions, and they need to start looking at the information that Fannie and Freddie are asking them to do, because I think they need to start pushing back to Lyle and to Scott to go take a look at some of the things that can be corrected, and I think will be corrected eventually, but I think everybody needs to bring it to their attention. And so I think from that standpoint, I think it's good, because I think it's going to organize the way things need to get done. My biggest concern is that I just hope that those residential appraisers that are my age, and it's no big real secret, but I am long past 70. As I like to say, I've closed 70's front door behind me, and I'm still moving forward. But I hope they don't bail on this. I hope they give it a chance. And I'm not talking about to make the AMC money, because I think there's going to be an opportunity here, because I don't know what to believe, but if I've heard people say over half of the residential appraisers that are older are going to quit. And I've heard the group that said, oh, there's only going to be like 10% quit. No, I don't know. But let's say that there's a significant departure from the industry. Let me remind you of 2020 when we had a lot of body count, but we didn't have many. We had too many appraisals for all the body count.
So that's supply and demand. Is that what we're talking about?
I think you might have something right there on the nose, supply and demand. And so I think the residential appraiser needs to stop screaming and yelling. They need to get involved with 3.6 and see where it goes. And then if it's not your cup of tea and it's not going to work, or the AMCs want to charge, want to pay you $250 and they want to turn it around in 2.5 days, like the guy from Agora says 24 hours. And I've already heard all the chit chatter about all that stuff. I just saw him. He was on a podcast today that I saw. I chuckle when I see that stuff. But I think the business is okay. I just think they have to be like Dan. I think they have to be like you. I think they have to have their business spread out over multitude sources. And if they follow your path of doing business, I think that will be beneficial. Because then when it's slow on the lending side, you've still got your other work that comes in. And when your other work, your non-lending stuff is coming in and you can get a higher fee for it, you can tell the AMC, as you were saying earlier, you're not negotiating from a power of weakness. You're coming from a power of strength because you've got other work in the pipeline, and I don't need to work for $400. I got a job over here that's going to pay me $750 or $800, and I've got other stories about that. But now you're from a position of power, and now all of a sudden they're going to be calling you on the phone saying, hey, we got a specific problem, and we really need your expertise. And that will be the other thing that I will leave people with is get a freaking damn niche.
That's all you need. For it. That's exactly right. Whatever your niche is. Like, I'm really pumping this divorce thing, and it's almost like half my business, and that's totally fine with me. That's totally fine with me. This is my niche. I like it. I get along with the attorneys. I know everything, the backstory about the family law stuff in my area. So this niche wasn't here 12 years ago for Dan. It's developed over the years because that's just the way the business grew, and I'm supporting it, growing in that niche. So create a niche for yourself. If it's estate work, if it's doing partition cases, whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. And I tell people to, I know a lot of appraisers don't like doing manufactured housing. I know a lot of appraisers don't want to do a horse ranch. I know a lot of appraisers don't do land. And I recognize in your neck of the woods, you got to go drive 2 hours to find dirt. Out where I'm at, it's just over the hill. So there's still dirt. But get a niche and get known for that niche. And, there's some new classes coming out on manufactured housing. Take them. Get to know them. Know it backwards, forward, and upside down. And get to know chattel. Because guess what? There is a market for personal property manufactured home appraisals. And it's out there. And you can do it. You just have to get known for it. And there's a dearth of those. There's not many because there are a bunch of old-time appraisers that have all hit the road.
Yeah.
But find a niche. And it doesn't mean you don't do, all the other stuff. And by the way, I'll tell you right now, somebody calls me on the phone, I don't do units.
You don't do what?
I don't do units.
Multis?
Two to four.
Oh, okay. They take so much freaking time to do those reports. I freaking don't like doing them, and I reluctantly do them. I should cut that off too.
Well, I don't have a problem doing them, but when I was doing them back in the day, nobody wanted to pay me for my time, and there was a lot of fraud being committed.
Oh.
A boatload of fraud being committed. And I said, you know something? I ain't that damn smart. I'm not going to get entangled in these guys' mishmash. So I stopped doing them. And I've had some fistfights with a couple of people because of that. And I'm like, sorry, this is one thing I do not do. Well, what happens if I pay you? And I said, well, if you want me to do a triplex or a fourplex, I don't have a problem with it, but get your checkbook out because it's going to be a minimum of, and it's going to have a 2 in front of it with 3 digits after that.
Yeah.
And that's minimum.
Yeah, I think I'm undercharging for multis because they take 1.5, 2 times the amount of time a normal appraisal, and I don't think I'm charging 2 times as much.
Well, and I bet if you look at your actual time that you have to spend and monkey around, not to mention the time you have to call back and forth to try and get appointments to get everybody at the ability at the same freaking time.
Yeah. All right. I think I'm going to make a business change on that. I think I'm going to double my fee for multis because I did one this week. And it sucked an entire day out of my schedule because it took much longer than they always take much longer than I think. Always.
Yep. And that's key. But know where your strengths are and what you like to do. And if it's condos, then be a specialist in condos. I don't have a problem with that. Know what Fannie's new requirements are. Actually not new. They've been out for almost 2 years now. Know what Fannie wants done on these projects. Because I got a news flash for everybody. When these condos roll over, considering what's been going on out here in my state and probably what's going on in your state with condos, if you ain't charging a boatload of money and doing exactly what needs to be done by Fannie's criteria, and that's walking the whole damn project and shooting photos, if there's deferred maintenance on that project and you're not reporting it, even though you're only doing 1 unit in a condo, y'all need to go back and read Fannie's letter. Their mortgagee letter. Because I got a news flash for you. When that stuff starts rolling over and Fannie starts getting crap back and they start sending people out starting to see what's going on, and they didn't interview anybody, they didn't talk about the reserves, they didn't talk about special assessments, there's going to be some people who are going to get their head handed to them. And it's coming in a theater near you.
Yeah, we have new laws that the state passed about reserve studies and whatnot. So,
well, after that collapse in that building. Yeah.
Yep. Very sad.
Yeah, it was tragic. And everybody across the country is feeling it. That's why Freddie issued their mandate on their mortgagee letter. But be a specialist in condos. Find out what a corner view is. You know, what's it worth to be a corner condo? Is that important? Yeah. You know, is there a difference between, you know, if you're in a tall, big high rise, we don't have them out here because condos fall down when earthquakes happen. But, you know, if you're on floor 1 through 5, is there a difference between that and 6 through 10? Be an expert.
Exactly. We got a lot of condos here. And if you don't know that an end unit on the ocean is a lot more valuable than 3 units in or 2 units in, it could be 20, 30% difference in value because that buyer wants that unobstructed ocean view, you know? So,
and it's what floor you want, that kind of stuff. It's huge. And even you can be an expert in condominiums and the people will knock on your door because they're going to see the quality of your work and the quality of your service and the work that you've done. And oh, by the way, once you've got that formula done, you ain't reinventing the wheel every time.
No, and condos are easy with same stacks and just view differences, floor location. It's kind of an easier appraisal because you all have the same basically you all have the same building and you're just figuring out, you know, the unit's location and stuff from there. It's a good niche.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying get a niche. I don't care what it is, just get a niche and be known for that niche as well as other things. I mean, I still do track houses. You know, I don't a boatload of them because that's what, you know, the estate stuff is and the family law stuff. But I'll tell you, get a good website, get videos on your website, get out there and teach, get out and spend time at brokerage offices. When they have their training, go in and spend 15 or 20 minutes. Let them know how an appraiser goes about and looks at things. You know, teach at your MLS board, get involved in your MLS board. There's all sorts of ways of doing it. And you don't have to be a mouthpiece like me. You can still get out there and still do it and still be successful with it.
Right. Getting involved in your MLS is an excellent opportunity, getting on some committees, and then just calling real estate offices, or even when you meet an agent, say, hey, by the way, if your office wants somebody to come teach an appraisal lesson, let me know. I'll be gladly come in and do it. So that's the easiest way for appraisers to get into non-lending is getting on the listing side, the agent side.
Yep.
You know, pre-listing appraisals, cash buyers, stale listings, and any other reason that an agent gets a call looking for a referral for an appraisal from their clients. So an agent's an excellent way to get in there and then build on that and get attorney work as you grow in that space. So
yeah, and there was a lady anyway, real quick, there was a lady that I met at the AXE conference, and Carrie's going to shoot me because she got married here recently, and I'm trying to remember her married name. Anyway, she's based out of Arizona, I believe. And she goes, Carrie Lang, used to be Carrie LaPierre, I believe. And she makes little notes and gets out to different conferences in the area where different people are speaking. An attorney is speaking, or an insurance company is speaking, or an insurance agent is speaking. And she goes to 1 or 2 or 3 of those every quarter. And she goes and gets up in front and hands a business card and, watches, listens, and learns. And she's new to the business. I don't think she's been in the business, but maybe 7, 8, 10 years max, maybe less than that. But she's a go-getter about getting out there and meeting people and handing card and learning and getting educated.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard, folks. Look, if a guy wearing a Stetson that's been beat up and thrown off enough horses and run over by cows, I swear to God, y'all can do it.
Yeah. We're going to end it on that note with Brad from Straw Hat Enterprises. I love the name. It makes people ask I love the name. So I really appreciate your time today, and thank you for being a guest.
My pleasure, my honor, Dan. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us on the Brews and Appraisal Views podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found some value in it, which you can apply to your appraisal business. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave a review. It really helps us reach more appraisers like you. For more tips and to connect with other appraisers, visit referappraisals.com. Until next time, keep brewing up success in your business, and I'll catch you on the next episode.